time ago, DJI sent me an action camera, and at the time I honestly didn't know what to do with it, so I barely used it, and end of story. You know, my videos are cinematic. I usually shoot with mirrorless cameras and drones in places like mountain cliffs, the coast and nature, and I'm always chasing for that perfect shot. And I know it can be a little of obsession sometimes, but that's what I love most about filmmaking. You know, the thing is, I don't ride mountain bikes, I don't do skateboard, I don't dive, and I'm not into extreme sports, so for me action cameras never really made sense. I never thought POV shots could add much more to my work. But then my view started to change, and I realized that just a few good POV shots could make a film feel much more immersive and personal. And instead of just watching the story, viewers could feel like they were really there with me, and that's what made me want to try the DJI Osmo Nano. Honestly, I have to say, it surprised me. Well, the first thing I noticed is how fun it is to use. It's tiny, it's light, it's magnetic, and it snaps onto a dock with its own touchscreen. So I just pull it out of my pocket, take it off the dock, check the framing on the screen, and just start filming. There is no setup, no heavy rig, it's that easy. And because it's so small, I end up taking shots that I would probably never get with my main camera. You know, one thing I really love is the ultra wide lens. It gives you those nice leading lines that guide your eyes into the image. It makes every shot feel bigger and even more immersive. And if you don't like that fisheye look, there is a de-warp mode, and you still get the wide view but with a more natural look. And that was actually one of the reasons that I never really liked action cameras before. You know, for such a tiny sensor, it can do a lot. It shoots beautiful 4K, captures slow motion at up to 120 frames per second, takes photos, has a time-lapse feature, an hyperlapse, and a surprisingly good night mode. What I really didn't expect was 10-bit D-Log in so many shooting modes. Not just in normal video, but also in slow motion and even in hyperlapse. That means everything I shoot fits in the same color workflow. Whether it's a landscape, a POV shot, or a hyperlapse, or even a slow motion clip. It all matches my mirrorless camera and drone really well. For someone who loves color grading, that's a big deal. And honestly, it's amazing what this tiny sensor can do. Another thing that impressed me was the stabilization. So Rocksteady keeps everything nice and smooth. Most of the time the footage already looks great straight out of the camera, so I spend much less time fixing shaky clips in post. Although not everything is perfect, and I found out that if you're shooting in manual mode following the 180-degree shutter rule and using an ND filter, you might notice some micro jitters caused by electronic stabilization. They are especially visible in bright highlights, and they can be very hard to remove later in post. If you're shooting at 30 frames per second in manual mode, don't feel like you have to stick to a shutter speed of 1/60. I actually got better results around 1/200. Those tiny shakes almost disappear, and the footage looks smoother, especially with electronic stabilization on. It is a small change, but it makes a surprisingly big difference. DJI also included some really useful extras. There's a magnetic cap clip for hands-free POV shots, a neck strap, a suction cup for places where magnets won't work, and if you add a magic arm, you can put this camera almost anywhere. The creative possibilities are almost endless. So this camera didn't replace my main camera, but it proved that a tiny action camera can capture cinematic shots too. And when I want an ultra-wide POV, it creates a perspective that a regular camera simply can't. Its size, its simplicity allows me to capture moments that will be much harder with a bigger setup. And that's what makes it so special. Time to finish up this video. Thank you so much for being with me in this journey, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!